charred archives, photographs burned to the very edges, where the faces of Jesuit priests vanish into ash, documents deliberately torched in 1759, when the Portuguese Crown erased every trace of the Society of Jesus from Brazilian soil. What were they hiding? For centuries, treasure hunters, historians, and adventurers have tried to crack the greatest colonial mystery in South America, a secret underground network linking the Jesuit missions. We're not talking about fairy tales, we're talking about classified engineering. 1750. The Treaty of Madrid redraws borders and signs. The death warrant for the 7 mission towns. Jesuits and Guaraní know the end is coming. While Portuguese and Spanish armies march toward them, something moves in the shadows of the reductions. Eyewitnesses report nighttime activity, the constant thud of digging, loaded wagons rolling straight into churches and never coming out, tons of gold, silver, sacred artifacts, everything accumulated over decades of evangelization simply evaporate. Where did it go? The priests never talked. Many died carrying the secrets of the grave. Others were tortured. Not one broke. The surviving documents are fragments almost always scorched at the edges. One 19th-century parchment described 80 hidden treasure sites scattered across Rio Grande do Sul, Paraguay, and Argentina. Cryptic Kabbalistic maps pointed to caves in the Stone of Secrets, to tunnels beneath Morro do Castelo in Rio de Janeiro, to lakes where entire ox carts loaded with gold were supposedly sunk. Some explorers lost their minds. Others blew fortunes chasing riches that never appeared. In 1905, a tunnel was accidentally uncovered during construction work in the city, but it led nowhere. Or did it? Today, in 2025, the legend of the mission tunnels is more alive than ever. Treasure hunters still dig illegally in Cocopava do Sul, Viamo, São Miguel das Missões. Ground-penetrating radar keeps picking up massive structural anomalies beneath the Jesuit ruins. Blocked passageways are found, but authorities immediately seal them again. No one dares open them all the way. Because maybe the real treasure isn't gold or silver. Maybe it's something the Jesuits valued far more: forbidden knowledge, records that could rewrite colonial history itself. And maybe, just maybe, that underground network is still down there, intact, waiting in absolute darkness, connecting secrets never meant to see the light of day. Beneath the ancient Jesuit ruins, under layers of soil and centuries of deliberate forgetting, secrets sleep that official history has never managed to unearth. Between 1682 and 1707, Jesuit priests of the Society of Jesus built 7 mission towns in what is now Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil. São Francisco de Borja, São Nicolau, São Miguel Arcanjo, São Lourenço Martia, São João Batista, São Luís Gonzaga, and Santo Angelo Custodio. 30,000 souls lived under Jesuit rule. But there was always something more hidden inside those monumental stone walls. Charred documents, parchments burned to the very center, where names and coordinates vanished into calculated ash. In 1759, the Portuguese Crown ordered the systematic destruction of every Jesuit record in the empire. The Marquis of Pombal left no stone unturned and no page intact. But why? What did those priests know that had to be erased forever? Eyewitnesses from the time spoke of Kabbalistic maps, of tunnels stretching hundreds of miles, of hidden chambers where footsteps still echo on silent, pampas nights. February 1750. The Treaty of Madrid redraws colonial borders and sentences the 7 peoples to extinction. The Jesuits know they have only a few years left before Portuguese and Spanish troops arrive to take everything. That's when the disturbing reports begin. Strange movements under the churches after dark. the muffled thud of digging at dawn, heavily loaded wagons rolling straight into the temples and never coming out again. Tons of gold and silver accumulated over decades of evangelization simply disappear without a trace. The Guaraní War, 1511 indigenous warriors massacred at Cabot. When the soldiers finally marched into the smoking ruins, they found only silence and empty vaults, fresh drag marks on stone floors, passageways hastily sealed with mortar so hard that modern jackhammers still struggle against it. Today, in 2025, illegal digs continue. Ground-penetrating radar keeps detecting hollow chambers beneath São Miguel das Missões. Tunnels are accidentally breached during construction and immediately sealed again by authorities. Why? What are they still protecting? Maybe the real treasure can't be measured in gold. Maybe it's forbidden knowledge, documents that would force us to rewrite everything we think we know about colonial South America. And maybe, just maybe, that underground network is still down there, perfectly preserved, linking Brazil, Argentina, and Paraguay, waiting in absolute, unbroken darkness. Picture 1754. The pampas sky is black glass. The full moon pouring silver over the blood-red stones of São Miguel Arcanjo, the greatest of the 7 Jesuit mission towns. At 3 in the morning on October 14th, the great bell gives one single muted stroke, almost a whisper of bronze. Only the chosen few understand the signal. Beneath the church's choir loft lies a room that never appeared on any official blueprint. No windows. The air is thick with melted tallow, wet leather, and freshly turned earth. There, Father Antonio Sepp, Swiss, 62 years old, ice-blue eyes that I have already seen too much, gathers the last 36 Guaraní he still trusts with his life. These are men born inside the mission walls, men who learned Latin before they could run, men who would kill or die without asking why. On a rough granite table lit by 4 whale oil candles, Sepp unrolls 3 parchment maps, so thin they feel like snakeskin. One came straight from the Jesuit college in Asunción, copied by the hand of a priest later burned alive in Lisbon. Another is the official plan of São Miguel, but with extra lines no architect ever admitted drawing. A perfectly straight gallery that begins directly beneath the main altar, cuts under the indigenous cemetery, crosses beneath the Ijuí River, and runs 127 leagues, dead straight to a cave in the Caicafá Highlands. At the final mark only 2 symbols, a Jesuit cross and the Greek letter Phi, the golden ratio the order used for everything sacred or forbidden. Sepp speaks in low, ancient Guaraní. When the sun rises tomorrow, this church will be empty. Gomes Friar's soldiers will find nothing but walls. But the society will live on where no one can ever reach us. That same night the final caravan begins. 27 ox carts, wheels wrapped in rawhide so they roll in silence, disappear one by one through a side door of the sacristy. Inside, bells weighing 900 pounds each, broken down. Cedar chests sealed with blood-red wax holding tons of worked silver. Sacred images with emerald eyes. And, most dangerous of all, 212 volumes bound in taper hide, the secret library Rome ordered destroyed 3 times over. Books of alchemy, banned even by the Inquisition, star charts that should never have existed in the New World, ledgers of Potosi's silver mines never declared to the crown, and one codex, written in both Latin and Guarani, describing rituals that would make the Holy Office itself flinch. The oxen are slaughtered the moment they cross the stone threshold. Blood runs down the steps and vanishes between perfect joints. The carcasses are stacked as a living, or rather dying, barricade. When the last cart disappears into the dark, the Guarani sealed the entrance with the infernal mortar, Whale oil boiled for days, mixed with quicklime and bone ash. In 6 hours, it hardens stronger than granite. When the sun comes up, the church floor is spotless, washed with vinegar and water. Nothing remains except the faint smell of cattle blood that the wind carries away in minutes. Above, the priests celebrate morning mass as if nothing happened. Below, 27 wagons are already rolling through a passage no one will see again for almost 3 centuries. The recipe was born in the foundries of São João Batista. Basque whale oil boiled 3 straight days with shell lime and powdered burned bone until it bubbles like lava and smells like hell itself. It sets in hours and ends up harder than any sandstone of the era. Even in 2025, diamond-tipped drills overheat and die trying to bite through it. The city of Caçapava do Sul is installing sewer lines under Rui Barbosa Square. Workers hit a wall that isn't on any city plan. They call in Valdir, a master mason with 30 years on the job. He brings in a top-of-the-line German Bosch jackhammer. The machine screams, glows red, eats 3 bits, and gives up. Behind the wall, a perfectly vaulted corridor exactly 6 feet 10 in high, the Jesuit standard so a man carrying a crate on his head wouldn't hit the ceiling. Valdir grabs a magalite and goes in alone. 40 meters later, the tunnel doglegs 90 degrees. Classic anti-intrusion design. And ends at the end stands an Angico wood door, banded with iron that shows no rust. Burned into the lintel in perfect Latin. Non est haec alived nivi Christs. There is nothing here but Christ. He knocks, the echo is hollow for dozens of yards. He snaps one shaky Polaroid, the only evidence that still exists, and runs back up. Next morning, before coffee, 3 army trucks roll in. Soldiers with rifles, officers who never identify themselves, direct orders from Brasilia. In under 12 hours the hole is filled with reinforced concrete and 16 mm rebar. The sewer line is quietly rerouted. Valdir gets a brand new house in Porto Alegre, early retirement, and a paper he is told never to show anyone. Until he died in 2019, whenever someone mentioned the square, he either changed the subject or simply walked away. But the mortar isn't just physically unbreakable. Old-timers who worked with it swear that, once cured, it sometimes pulses faintly, as if breathing. In 1994, an engineering professor from UFRS tried to core sample a piece. The diamond bit got so hot it melted itself. The fragment that survived showed traces of mercury and sulfur in ratios impossible in nature. The report vanished. The professor requested immediate transfer to the Amazon and never set foot in Rio Grande do Sul again. March 2023. A team from the Federal University of Pampa receives funding from an anonymous donor routed through a Zurich foundation. Official goal: non-invasive archaeological mapping of São Miguel das Missões. Real goal: 5 people know. For 42 straight nights, trucks with 400 MHz and 800 MHz ground-penetrating radar antennas crawl over every inch of the site. Data is processed inside an air-conditioned container. When the 3D model finishes rendering, the container goes dead silent. Beneath the ruins lies a perfect heptagon, 7 equal sides, 7 vertices directly under the former houses of the Guaraní caciques, geometric center, precisely on the high altar. Average gallery depth, 30 feet. But on the final night, the GPR picks up something else. A vertical, cylindrical shaft, 3 meters wide, plunging to 125 feet, 25 feet below the water table, with metallic returns so strong the screen whites out. Readings consistent with stacked bronze bells or silver plates. Lead researcher Dr. Rafael Ortiz prints the full 187-page report. Next morning, 2 black sedans with no plates pull up. Men in dark suits confiscate every hard drive, laptop, and personal phone. The report is classified national security by IPHAN in record time. 2 weeks later, Ortiz is in a single-car accident on BR 285. He lives, but loses all memory of the last 5 years. When friends show him the heptagon images in the hospital, he just stares blankly and repeats, "I was never there. I never saw that." The raw GPR files now live only on encrypted thumb drives passed hand to hand among researchers who stop sleeping properly. 3 men slip into a fresh erosion scar on the bank of the Uruguay River near the lost mission of Snow Tome. Brothers Lucio and Laura Cooney, the most notorious treasure hunters in southern Brazil, and their Paraguayan guide, Ramon Acosta. 100 meters in, the tunnel is ruler straight, vaulted ceiling, walls smooth as glass. Then the door appears, double bronze-hinged leaves that still swing silently. Inside, an octagonal chamber, 8 perfect sides, crossed vault high overhead. Every wall is carved with intertwined symbols, Jesuit EHS monogram woven with Masonic square and compass, Ouroboros serpents, 5-pointed stars. In the center, an empty stone pedestal, exactly the size of the long-lost 80 centimeters solid gold custodia of São Miguel. On the floor, fresh military boot prints and a single sheet of typewriter paper, folded once Lucio opens it. In clean Portuguese, "You are 218 years too late. Leave while you still can." They run. When they return 2 days later with cameras and backups, the doorway is sealed with wet concrete that smells like it was poured that morning. Ramon Acosta was never the same. He spent his final 7 years in a Porto Alegre psychiatric ward, repeating one sentence in Old Guaraní: "The ancient lords still live and pray below." He died in 1981, eyes wide open, staring at a ceiling only he could see. September 2025. A irrigation trench in São Luís. Gonzaga accidentally punches through a side wall and exposes a pristine gallery. I wait until night, slip in alone with thermal camera, co-meter, 650 feet of rope, and a chest-mounted GoPro. 47 meters in, the passage widens enough for 2 ox carts side by side. The chisel marks on the walls are so sharp, I can count individual strokes from 1754. At 112 meters, I find the first artifact, a 660-pound bronze bell, lying on its side. Rope long rotted, inscription still perfect, AD Maiorum, Do Puerium, minus 1749. Temperature suddenly drops 14 degrees. The thermal cam shows fresh boot prints, military tread, size 10, less than 48 hours old, coming and going. At 140 meters, the tunnel ends at a newly bricked wall. Mortar still white. I press my ear to the bricks. From the other side, slow, deliberate knocking, 3 measured beats, pause, 3 beats. I record 14 minutes of audio. Back in the lab, the spectrogram matches exactly the Angelus pattern of São Miguel's long-lost great bell. I return the next day with 2 armed friends. The entire gallery is flooded to the ceiling with ice-cold, crystal-clear water that wasn't there 12 hours earlier. Enough volume to fill an Olympic pool, with no visible source. Today, November 30th, 2025, I'm writing this from a place I can't disclose. The tunnels are not dead, they breathe. There are new boot prints. There are doors that close by themselves after you pass. There is air moving where no air should move. The gold may be down there, the silver may be, but the real treasure is whatever made educated, fearless men who translated the Bible into Guaraní and built cathedrals in the wilderness seal passages with their own blood, so no one would ever open them. When that final door is opened, and it will be opened, it won't be an archaeologist or a YouTuber who walks through first. It will be someone who already knows exactly what's waiting on the other side. Someone who has waited 269 years with the patience of stone. This morning, at 6:14 a.m., the ground trembled lightly beneath São Miguel das Missões. Only I felt it. Or maybe, not only me, maybe someone deep below finally turned the key they've been holding since 1754. And whoever they are no longer in a hurry. They are simply letting us know the wait is over.